While the second round of negotiations takes place in Islamabad, the United States continues its blockade of the Strait of Hormuz. There is a massive military buildup of military power as reports emerge of the deployment of 10,000 troops and the USS George H.W. Bush, which will join the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald Ford in the Middle East. Whether America is preparing for action or simply creating a security bubble, claims that hundreds of troops have been injured or resigned are becoming a significant internal burden for Washington. What is Donald Trump actually planning? This video is going to reveal the facts behind the sharp increase in American military posture, from its objective to the obstacle that may determine the aggressor's final stance. The intelligence unit of Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps revealed on Tuesday, April 14, via a post on X that whispered frustration and despair are occurring among American forces in that region. This is reportedly due to various situations, including repeated Iranian missiles and drone attacks on bases. According to field data and assessments, Washington officials have ignored reports of frequent relocations, unstable conditions, and constant plan changes by American President and Secretary of Defense. In the first month of the war, 734 resignations were submitted from the bases across three Persian Gulf countries, spanning all ranks. Now, senior commanders reportedly stated that they are losing soldiers and it is unacceptable, but preventing capture is a red line that must not be crossed, according to the post forwarded by Iran International. As quoted by Money Control, these resignations come amidst long-standing tensions between Iran and America. In fact, weeks of military exchanges and fragile ceasefire have failed to stabilize the region. The second round of talks, which ended without a breakthrough, underscored deep disagreement regarding Tehran's nuclear program and its regional activities. Viewers, simultaneously repeated Iranian attacks on US positions coupled with Washington's larger military deployment contribute to an increasingly volatile security environment. These facts I present to you may be the real reason why American soldiers are resigning. Now, casualties and injuries are predictably reality in any battle. However, the sacrifice of soldiers on the battlefield is deemed unnecessary by certain parties. US Central Command revealed that 399 of the soldiers were wounded in the Iranian war. CENTCOM spokesperson Captain Tim Hawkins officially reported that the number of seriously injured casualties stand at 3. 2 weeks prior, Central Command updated its information via a report of 348 wounded soldiers, including 6 who were seriously injured. However, the military command provided no further details on the wounded, leaving it unclear whether their conditions are improving or worsening. Instead of detailing on the cases, Hawkins' disclosure was limited to the information that 354 military members have returned to duty from the total number of wounded up to date. Since the war with Iran began, 13 American military members have been killed in action. This has drawn a sharp reaction from Congress. According to the BBC, a resolution to limit Donald Trump's ability to wage war in Iran has been pursued. If passed, the War Power Act bill will halt American military action in the conflict without congressional approval. Unfortunately, the resolution failed in the US Senate for the fourth time this week, as senators rejected it with a vote of 52 to 47, largely along party lines in the chamber managed by the president's Republican colleagues. There is a sharp increase in the American military posture, with officials indicating a large-scale reinforcement effort through the deployment of up to 10,000 additional personnel, coinciding with Trump's maritime blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Based on April 15, 2026, update by the Washington Post, the Pentagon is sending thousands of additional troops to the Middle East in the incoming days as part of Trump's effort to pressure Iran into a deal to end the conflict. Troops will be sent in at least in 2 waves: 6,000 via aircraft, USS George H.W. Bush, and the remaining 4,200 are expected to arrive towards the end of the month. Furthermore, officials said the deployment was made to consider the possibility of additional attacks or ground operations if the fragile ceasefire does not hold. While Al Jazeera could not verify the report at the start of the war, America announced that approximately 50,000 troops were involved in operations, proving that Washington is serious about its position in the conflict. Last week, America and Iran failed to reach an agreement to end the war, but a 2-week ceasefire remains in effect. Per the agreement, the ceasefire is set to expire on April 22. However, in the process, America has instead continued its intervention in the Middle East. Regarding the progress of the USS George, the U.S. Navy 10th Nimitz-class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier. The vessel was reportedly spotted off the coast of Namibia on Monday, April 13. With its arrival drawing closer, the number of American carriers in the Middle East will increase, given that the USS Abraham Lincoln and the USS Gerald H. Ford are already stationed there. According to Forbes, the USS George H.W. Bush will sail around the southern tip of the African continent, crossing from the Atlantic to the Indian Ocean at the Cape of Good Hope. The Pentagon has not announced why the ship is taking a substantial longer route. Typically, the normal route for a U.S. East Coast carrier heading to the Middle East is through the Strait of Gibraltar into the Mediterranean, then through the Suez Canal, then into the Red Sea. However, the detour around Africa was likely taken so the carrier and its escort could avoid transiting the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. The U.S. Navy appears willing to take risks as the shadow of the Houthis looms with missiles and drone threats among those routes. The decision is without reason. America's destroyers crossing the Bab el-Mandeb in recent years have faced continuous attacks from Houthi forces. Therefore, to ensure the USS George reaches the region without hindrance, avoiding the strait is the wisest choice. Trump isn't avoiding the fight, he's simply learning from experience. The American president launched a military campaign against the Houthis last year, asserting that the group would be destroyed if they do not immediately stop attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea. Although experts assess that American strikes successfully degraded Houthi military capabilities, the Yemeni militia has not been fully defeated. The Houthis, essentially a pre-military force, have proven to be a formidable opponent even for a global superpower like the United States. They believe to still possess enough strength to launch future attacks. Most recently, the Houthis were recorded launching several missiles towards Israel and vowed to continue further strikes. This situation has evolved into a global concern as even the slightest movement could present a new disruption to shipping lanes across the Bab el-Mandeb. The ongoing Middle East conflict raises many questions at once. Is this the peak of the deployment that leads to victory or from a surrender to disaster? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section. You've been watching the Global Observer and I'm your host, Awesome Ladley.